Kia ora tātou, welcome back to the Wargaming Den. Something a bit different. It's been a while, but this week I have a report of a game of Kings of War that I played yesterday against my friend Nigel. I popped up to Timaru. Nigel hasn't played in about 18 months or so, so we got out his Kingdoms of Men army, and I gave my new Orc army a bit of a run. So let's have a look at the game. We just played Invade because it's a nice simple scenario without too much thinking involved. Right, let's have a look at the two armies. So both are 2,000 point forces. I've gone for a long axe horde with the blessing of the gods. The idea being that that's going to be my centre. Two great axe regiments, a troll horde, a giant, two war drums, a crudger, Upgar the Mad, whoever he is, and Gakamak. So Nigel hasn't played, as I said, in about 18 months, so his force hasn't been updated to the last couple of rules updates at all, just the force he used at the last onslaught that he went to, pretty much. So he's got two foot guard regiments, a pike horde, two regiments of rifles, a knight regiment, two giants, war engine, a catapult, I think it is, two assassins, a wizard, a captain, and a general. His army is really nicely painted and it's got a Japanese theme. So his two giants are two Oni, lots of samurai, some really cool cavalry. One of the other local gamers, Tony, painted it up for him and it is absolutely stunning. Okay, let's just have a quick look at deployment. So pretty straightforward really. From the top here I had my long axe protecting my left flank, war drum in behind them. There must be another character in here somewhere, probably the wizard. I have one of the Gore Rider units with the trolls beside them and great axe in behind, then a war drum, more Gore Riders, Gakamak and the giant, and the great axe out on my flank. Can't see all the characters for Nigel's army, but he had a foot guard out wide, so he could move through here and put pressure on the flanks. His big pike horde here. Both of his rifle regiments are in the bad going terrain, so that yeah, it's going to be harder to deal with them. War machine at the back, two giants, foot guard, a couple of the characters, and the knights, and there's an assassin over here and another character as well. So yeah, pretty straightforward. My goal is really to just advance, get over halfway, use this wall and impassable terrain here to try and solidify my battle line and try and smash more of him than he smashes of me. Orcs being orcs, we just want to go forward. Just a bit of a view of Nigel's army. It's absolutely beautiful. Tony did a fantastic job of painting it and it is a joy to behold. Right, and here we have my new Orc army. Painted this up over the holidays. I've got about, I don't know, 2,600, 3,000 points all up done, mainly using GW Orcs. I've never had any of the GW Orcs before. I usually prefer the Lord of the Rings kind of Orc aesthetic, but decided to lean into GW this time. So these guys are going to be my great axe. I've got a Reaper Bones giant. Much prefer giants this size than the silliness of the Mantic oversized giants that look about 100 foot tall. They're nice models, but I have absolutely zero interest in ever buying any of those. Yeah, just ridiculous on the tabletop as far as I'm concerned. Much prefer a smaller scale giant. So this one fits the bill nicely. GW Minotaurs, which are acting as my trolls today. They're usually siege breakers, and the Gore Riders, or the GW Boar Boys in the back. I really like those models. They were a joy to put together. I've put together 2 regiments so far and want to get another 2. Not really rated very highly on the latest Orc army review on Countercharge, but I like them. I like the models, and so I will make them work. And actually in this game I was pleasantly surprised at how robust they were. They're not the world's flashiest knights or heavy cavalry, but for orcs they do the business quite nicely. But anyway, let's get on with the battle. So here we have it, turn one, orcs being orcs. I've got no shooting. I've got Ulfgar the Mad here as my only spellcaster and only possibility of casting spells, and he was out of fireball range, and so I tucked him in behind here. So I just advanced. Ogre, Giant in the bag going. Great Axe protecting that flank with Gak there with them. That's my Crudger, and the Trolls and the Gore Riders advancing there. I've got a unit of Great Axe tucked up in behind as a second wave there, and yeah, War Drum there with the Long Axe and the other War Drum there. So yeah, not much to report home about on my first. And here we have Nigel's first turn. So he advanced up onto the hill over here with his knights. That dice is indicating the maximum charge range of my guys. There are two of his characters. I think that is the assassin with an umbrella, and that is the captain footguard there. Charged one of the Oni, the giants, into my trolls to slow them down. Not sure what he was hoping to achieve, but that giant is acting as very, very thick chaff, but is also very, very isolated. I think he probably would have been better to stay back and wait and charge two giants into one unit. Now, as you can see, these giants aren't on official base-sized bases. Tony, when he painted the army up, used what bases he had and wasn't aware of the basing requirements of Kings of War. So we'll, at some point, Nigel will hope to get them put onto proper bases, but for now they will do the job. Otherwise, he advanced his pikes up here. Footguard came around here. They're going to turn, hope to get a flank on here. So he's kind of setting himself up quite nicely. I thought they were spear for most of the game. It was only the last turn I realised that they were pikes and a bit more dangerous. But yeah, they're going to hold my long guard hopefully and allow his foot guard to sweep round is the idea. The two rifle units just stayed here and they shot at my Gore Riders, and they did maybe 8 wounds. But they're also combined with the War Machine, which is just off the table up here, and it did about 4 wounds by itself. So quite a few wounds put on these guys early on. So not a bad start from Nigel. So my turn 2, surprise, surprise, I closed the door with my giant and did a multi-charge against the Oni and took her out. Had Great Axe, hindered trolls and the giant, and they were no match. Then I threw the mighty Gakamak into his cavalry to slow them down. Wasn't expecting to kill them, but I think I put about 4 or 5 wounds on them. But unfortunately, this assassin gets triple attacks against an individual like Gak, so Gak is actually in a bit of trouble here, and just move forward the Great Axe to support. War Drum and Long Axe have gone forward. I've gone forward, but I'm still on that wall, so if Nigel does charge me with his pike block, he's going to be hindered there. And because they had 8 wounds on them, I decided death or glory through the Gore Rider regiment, the ones without the boots of striding as it so happens, into one of the rifle units and destroyed it. So yeah, I got 2 units, so not a bad start for me. And in response, Nigel moved up with his pike but didn't engage. He's now got these guys in a perfect flanking position as well, so my long axe are a bit concerned about what's about to happen. I'd killed the regiment of rifles over there, and he's counterattacked with two of his characters, maybe the general and an assassin. And I don't know if they did many wounds there. We'll check in a minute. So not a lot left in the center there. The trolls are hanging back a bit. The giant got charged by the Oni, and I was in a bit of trouble there. We'll have a look in a minute. And over here, the foot guard charged into my great axe, and the two characters charged Gakamek. We'll see if the next slide shows the results. Yeah, so as you can see, Gakamek did 4 wounds on the cavalry and now has an assassin charging him in response. How much damage did he take? The answer is a lot. I think the assassin herself did 8 or 10 wounds, something ridiculous, 15 attacks because of the new duelist rule, which I really like, and yeah, did a lot of wounds, maybe 10, and then the cavalry did a few more to bring poor Gekamak up to 15 wounds, and he couldn't take that and was destroyed. Poor Gek. Now, after my last experience at Onslaught, where my giant kept running into infantry all the time, I decided to take my giant as the infantry killing giant, with the one with Rampage, I think it is. Nigel's giant has Slayer, and so gets D8 plus 6, plus a D6 plus a D6 attacks. He rolled double 6, so his giant got 20 attacks and did 11 wounds on my giant. But luckily, giants being giants, I survived the nerve check. And my Gore Riders against that unit of two characters there took a massive 1 wound, and unfortunately 1 wound is all that was required. Nigel rolled an 11 for his nerve check. That's 20. That's way over my nerve, even if there was a war drum nearby. So the Gore Riders are no more. And here we have just a bit of an overview at the end of that turn. So yeah, things are starting to get interesting. Lots of combats going on. Let's have a look at my turn 3. So the Great Axe charged a character here, might have been the general, and killed her and advanced 3 inches after combat. If they'd advanced 4 inches, they would have also hit this rifle regiment here, so they were just short. I pivoted here to put my front to both of those units rather than charge. I didn't realize these guys had ensnaring at the time, but it was more I was going to get unlikely to do enough damage to them by themselves anyway, and I was going to get hit in the flank by the foot guards, so I decided I was probably better off just trying to put my front to both of those units. The trolls are advancing, they've taken some wounds off. The War Machine did really well. It hit at least once a turn, often twice, and just did chipping damage to various units, but the trolls kept regenerating some of the wounds off. Over here, my giant wasn't nearly as cool as Nigel's giant, only did 6 wounds, so that combat continued. My Great Axe did 5 wounds back to the foot guard, not enough to destroy them, and at the end of his last turn he had moved these guys to advance along the line here. but he was too far to charge my great axe. So yeah, I managed to kill one more unit, but things are looking pretty dicey on this flank, and my long axe are not in a good position either. So let's see what Nigel does about that. So the cavalry advanced. They weren't going to be able to get there. He killed my giant with his giant. Didn't get 20 attacks this time, but got enough to kill the giant, and he also finished off the great axe there as well. Charged in here with both of his units, and this is, I think, about the main mistake we made in the game. It wasn't till later in the turn that we remembered that we had forgotten to count the spear unit is hindered in the charge. They did a few more wounds than they otherwise would have. Between the two, these guys weren't hindered though, because just the way that the pike unit was, they didn't go over the terrain, and so I took a total of 16 wounds and was wavered. But yeah, probably took a couple of wounds too many, maybe 3 or 4 wounds too many, and would have been okay. So as it was, I was wavered, and that's just the luck of the dice. Over here, I've taken 1 wound. He shot at someone, I can't remember who he shot with here, and again chipping damage from the war machine at the back there. But yeah, from Nigel's point of view, getting rid of the giant, getting rid of the great axe was a good result for that particular turn. And how did I respond? Well, these guys couldn't do much. They just backed off. My my wizard, the bad wizard, Opgar, took 2 wounds last time, and so he wasn't, it wasn't able to cast any spells this turn. But I did get the trolls and the great axe in here. They killed the rifle regiment, even though it was difficult going, and then the trolls moved forward and killed the character there as well. So that was a good result for me. And over here I threw the other Gore Riders and my Crudger into the giant in the hope of finishing her off. Now, see this little counter here? That's to remind me that these guys have Jesse's Boots of Striding, and I completely forgot about it. So I ended up doing it in the charge, and don't think I killed the giant, unfortunately. So whoops, that was another bit of a mistake on my behalf. I did a double one earlier on, but it wasn't very important against a unit that had taken next to no wounds. But this one actually turned out to be very important. The giant got me up to 10 wounds, and then double one against my Gore Riders, so they were able to fight at full strength next turn. So that was a very good result for me. Sorry about that, Nigel. And Nigel also threw his cavalry into my great axe in the swamp, and they counted as hindered, so they lost one of their thunderous, or the whole lot of the thunderous. I think we may have taken them both off. Might have been a mistake there. I have to double check that. So what happens when I'm meant to be the rules expert rather than relying on Gordon, who usually takes care of that stuff. So I may have led Nigel wrong there, but I ended up taking just 4 wounds. Got wavered though, and so wasn't able to fight back. And from another angle. And as you can see, yeah, that's where my long axe were. Didn't even get to roll a dice in anger. How rude. And yeah, they had the blessing of the gods on them as well. So yeah, things are pretty chaotic. It's broken up into various melees. Now, the infantry that had supported here, they actually advanced or they went sideways, and so they're well over halfway. These guys are over halfway as well, and so Nigel's got 2 units well over halfway, and these guys are easily going to get over halfway next turn as well, whereas I've only got my trolls and my great axe, and these guys aren't going to be around for much longer, I wouldn't think. So things are looking good from Nigel's point of view. Now the world's luckiest Gore Riders killed that giant and then turned to face over here, but they've got 2 characters in their flank and they're on 10 wounds, so they're unlikely to survive. I threw the Crudger in over here to try and put some wounds on the knights and try and bounce them. The Great Axe just withdrew an inch or so, so that the cavalry, knights if they do charge, are going to be another hindered charge in future. And the what these guys do? I think they just side shuffled because these guys were wavered. They weren't able to turn and charge this unit, so I ended up just having to side shuffle with them, and the war drum charged this character to just try and do some wounds on her, really. So yes, not much left on the table from my side, that's for sure. This is probably Nigel's big mistake right here, is he decided to charge the pike block into my war drum. 30 attacks, always very tempting, but what it's done is it's drawn him back over this, back onto his half of the board. If he'd stayed where he was, or just moved an inch or so back, he would have been on my side of the table, and that would have given him another 4 unit strength, would have given him 10 unit strength across, and I only have 9 unit strength left altogether, and these guys are about to get popped because they got hit by these guys and also the characters. Oh, so he actually charged that second unit and back across that side as well. Interesting. And he charged back in here, didn't do enough wounds. Again, the hindered terrain saved my great axe. So yeah, bit lucky there, but I'm definitely against the ropes and in a spot of bother. Into turn 5.
The fact that those freaking orcs are holding on.
They wave it again though, damn it.
The only thing that's like, oh my god.
Poor Riders died.
I would love to table you, but I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
going to be able to
I don't think, hopefully it's not going to be that, but it's not far off it. Here we go, turn 6. Okay, turn 6. Now, my trolls charged the spear unit. And that's when we learned that they weren't just spears, they were actually pikes, and that they had ensnaring. So even coming off this terrain that I was still slightly on, that's a -1, and with ensnare I needed 6s. I got 3 6s, did 3 wounds, and then, this is the luckiest dice roll of the game really, I rolled double 6 for the nerve check and wavered these infantry. And even though they retreated in Nigel's turn, the middle point of the board is somewhere around here, so they weren't across halfway, so he wasn't able to get the points for them, whereas these guys were. The tip of this unit may be slightly over halfway, but the bulk of it is. So this unit's over halfway, this unit's over halfway, they're not. My my trolls are over halfway, and so are my great axe. So I've only got 2 units left on the board, but a unit strength of 6, and Nigel's got unit strength of 6 on his side. So there we have it. It ends up as a very bloody draw. And that is the luckiest attack that I did of the day. Yeah, double 6 to waver the pike. But that's just another shot of showing what an absolutely awesome paint job that Tony did on this army. They are absolutely beautiful. So there we have it. It was a draw. Very well played, Nigel. I liked the way that these foot guard moved around here to get into flanking position. That really screwed up my long axe. I was tempted to put one of the Gore Rider units out this way to try and deal with them, but then I decided no, I just wanted to concentrate everything I could in the middle. What I was happy with was the fact that I had two lines, two waves of attack, the Gore Riders and the Trolls leading, and then I had Great Axe and more Gore Riders behind, so it gave me a bit of follow through when needed. Poor little Gakamak went and charged out all alone to hold up that knight unit. I was worried about them just sweeping down off the hill and taking up my Great Axe, so that's why I kind of sacrificed him. Everyone's a sacrifice in the right situation, but would have been better probably to have hailed him back and used him to coordinate attacks with other units. So a bit of learning to be done there. Happy enough with the giant, and overall, yeah, happy with the way my army performed. Nigel had a lot more characters, individuals, than I was used to dealing with, and both assassins were really nasty. Combining 5 attacks with the assassin and 5 with the general really helped tip the balance of combats over this way, but also had the same combination over here with the captain, I think, as well. So yeah, I think over here he actually had a captain and a wizard and an assassin, so they worked really well together as well. So yeah, it was Nigel's first game in quite a while, as I said, but we both thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a real laugh, and I look forward to heading up to Timaru in the next month or two and hopefully giving him another game. He's looking at building his list up to 2,300 points. He can't add any more to the actual Kingdoms of Men army, so he's probably going to use his succubi as allies. Nigel's not able to paint miniatures himself. He's got a disability. That means he can't actually roll dice or move figures. I was doing all the moving for him, and we just load the dice up on his shoulder and he rolls into a dice tray. And he's been gaming for many years, and Tony graciously painted this army, but Tony's not in a position to add anything else to it. He's got stuff going on himself, so yeah, not able to add anything to Nigel's force. So we'll be trying to play around with the units he's got to see what changes he can do to bring up to 2,300. And I think the easiest will be to add the allies, because originally this army of his was based around a demonic incursion kind of Nipponese army with abyssal allies. It was a really cool theme, and that's what he built the entire army up around. In the last tournament they didn't allow allies, so it really changed the way his army played, because he wasn't able to use his 2 succubi units. It wasn't about trying to min-max the system. For Nigel, it was just allowing the system to let him create the vision of the army he had in his head, and it was a very cool vision. So I think next game we might be bringing back that version of his list. So if we do, I'll try and get a battle report of that. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, put any comments or likes down below if you feel so inclined. But until next time, ka kite anō. Take care.